Now that I've reviewed every episode in Series 1, in this video I'm going to rank them in order of the scores that I awarded them in those reviews. Keep in mind I really don't think there is an outright terrible episode or series, and therefore it is extremely difficult to compile this list. Leave your episode rankings in the comments. I'll be interested to see how yours compares to mine. Without further ado, here is my episode ranking for Series 1. In 13th position is Mark Gatiss' episode The Unquiet Dead. As I previously stated in my review of the episode, I believe this is the weakest episode of the series, not due to the fact that I dislike it or think that it was rubbish, more the fact that I believe it needed a bit more polish. However, as an episode I still really enjoy it, which if anything is a testament to the excellence of Series 1. At 12 it's The Long Game, written by showrunner Rusty Davis. The episode can really be summed up in how it really is just a setup for things to come, and whilst a few good moments occur, it is still a very frustrating watch. It is a great shame because if executed a little bit better, and given that a little bit more polish, then I don't have any regrets in saying this could have been one of the better episodes of Series 1, but it is instead one of the more average of the series. However, it is still awesome seeing Simon Pegg in Doctor Who, and for me it's still one of the best guest actors to have graced the new series. In my 11th spot is The End of the World, written by RTD. It's clear to see at this stage that the Ninth Doctor is indeed firing on all cylinders, and partnering with new companion Rose is totally exceeding all expectations we had. While this episode isn't nearly as good as the previous story, I say it achieves many of its aims and indeed has many great special effects and moments of sheer brilliance, setting up many of the themes and plot elements that would go on to become very important throughout the series. However, often the humour does seem to fall particularly flat and is predictable at times, but it is still a very solid episode at the beginning of the new series. The good definitely outweighs the negative. Number 10 is Boomtown. For me, this episode is certainly one of the more underrated of the series. It's a story that juggles dialogue concerning consequences, capital punishment, and the pain of being left behind when people get on with their lives without you, and it examines the Ninth Doctor better than any other episode in the season. Christopher Eccleston does a revelation in a story that shows that the Doctor's life is all coming together. His trio of companions are a delight, and it is rare to see him smiling quite so much. But he's also allowed some quieter moments, a chance to examine the Doctor's carefree attitude to adventure when there are many lives at stake. His scenes with Annette Badland managed to be very funny and extremely poignant, which is a tough act to pull off. Who cares that there isn't the budget to produce something more blockbusting? Davies just returns to the tried and tested method of the classic series, and uses the money as an excuse to give the episode that bit more meaning. Although it is almost certainly a filler episode, it is still a fun little romp, and I thoroughly enjoy it. In 9th position is the first part of the two-part finale, Bad Wolf. I'd argue Bad Wolf neatly ties up the main season story arcs and gives us a large dose of highly charged, excellently meaty mythological scenes. It also manages to delve into the self-indulgence and cringeful silliness all at once, and the whole is more than just a sum of the parts. Even still, one wishes some parts could have been left out and others made more logical and founded in new unexplored territory. A bit more polished and this could have been much better, but it certainly isn't the worst setup for a finale ever, and I will always enjoy the last 5 minutes with the reveal of the Daleks. One of the best cliffhangers in the modern series, for sure. At 8 is the first episode in the new series, Rose, and of course the episode that brought Doctor Who to a new generation, myself included. This episode is always one I look back on fondly, and I'm sure many fellow Whovians do too. It is superb in every way and is the start of something so excellent that I cannot begin to describe it in such simple terms. The characters, the threat of the Autons, Rose and the Ninth Doctor are all elements explored excellently, as well as the introduction of the new TARDIS being a standout moment. However, I always feel Mickey doesn't get off to the most amazing start, and that scene when he gets pulled into the bin is a tad ridiculous. The special effects could also have been given a bit more polishing though, but I can somewhat gloss over that marginal element. A very strong start to arguably a very strong series. 7th on this list is Aliens of London. While the first part in this two-parter is a good start, it is certainly made up of moments, and strictly moments. I look back on this episode with fondness and a large amount of nostalgia, but it could have been done with a bit more polish and some better execution in places. Following on nicely from 7, my number 6 on this list is World War III. Despite many regarding this episode, and indeed the two-parter as a whole, as one of the weaker of the revival series, amongst many, I must admit I really enjoy them. Although most of the plot is very convenient and is all wrapped up rather easily, I think that Murray Gold's music, the comedy and mockery of the UK government, and many other elements, makes this one of the most enjoyable two-parters since the show returned in 2005, and is a story I often find myself revisiting on occasion. Even though there are many faults to this episode, it is still certainly very strong, and for me contains one of the finest moments from Eccleston as the Doctor, in the narrows it down sequence, which I absolutely adore. At number 5 is Paul Cornell's Father's Day. Eccleston is on top 4 with his darker, more intense side being his strength. Rose is given character development too, with Sean Dingwall as Pete being the strongest of the lot. The escalation of events is exciting and leads to really dramatic moments, and the choice her dad makes in order to set things right is emotionally impactful and is extremely powerful. Such a heartfelt and magnificent script from Cornell, who for me is one of the best writers of the new series without a doubt, and here in Series 1's Father's Day is no exception. It is simply fantastic and could well have been higher on the list if it wasn't for the high quality of episode we received throughout the series. At 4, it's the parting of the ways, which certainly doesn't disappoint, opening with the rescue of Rose and not stopping from there. It's an energetic, fast-paced episode which still leaves room for character moments and cracking dialogue. The episode is full of peripheral characters who have a function and are well-rounded, and it features a cocksure doctor who seems in charge, but just covering how deep in trouble he really is. By the end of the episode, the emotional stakes are raised and the Night Doctor reveals himself. Another thing I must commend is that there are also moments of comedy doused in there, such as when Android takes on the Daleks, which rather foolishly I neglected to mention in my review, which just highlights the strength of RTD once again, that such a scene could go unnoticed. Most importantly though, for me,
Jack, how we doing?
495 should be good. I like 495.
Identify yourself.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Yes!
You are the weakest link.
Proceed to next level.
Most importantly though, for me, it contains one of the best regenerations we've ever seen, a very strong finale indeed from RTD, and still a damn good episode to this very day. Taking the third position on this list is the magnificent Dalek. This episode is one of the most concisely written pieces of not just Doctor Who, but of television I've ever experienced. And the fact that this was a single Dalek, totally outnumbered but yet could cause that much chaos and destruction, is real genius, and extremely neatly sets up what was to come later on. Writer Rob Shearman achieved what seemed to be the impossible, make the Daleks threatening once again. Add to that, making it accessible for a totally new generation of kids experiencing these creatures for the very first time. That was me. This was the first Dalek story I've ever seen, and it hooked me. For me, this is the most important episode, indeed story, the Doctor Who has ever told. If it wasn't for this, and the Daleks might never have returned, to the detriment of the programme. Brilliantly directed by Joe Ahern, this episode also featured a critical juncture in the relationship between the Rose and the Doctor, reaffirming the vital role which the companion plays in the series, and for that it works tenfold. Indeed, a crucial aspect is that the audience member might even begin to feel sympathy towards this killing machine, and the way in which Rob Shearman is able to do that is simply genius. In the second spot on this ranking is The Empty Child, written by Stephen Moffat. It must be said that this episode, both on its own and a setup for the second part, just works on nearly every level, and is just amazing in its premise, design, and most importantly, its execution. Eccleston gives one of his finest performances to date, Piper also, but one of the best things about this episode for me is the introduction of Captain Jack Harkness. A fantastic episode indeed, but one that doesn't get the top spot on this list. For me, the best episode of Series 1 is The Doctor's Answers, following on from the equally brilliant Empty Child. Moffat's first script is still one of his very best, managing to tell a wartime story whilst avoiding all the cliches and a fine science fiction story at the same time, with plenty of gorgeous lines for everybody and unexpected moments of poignancy woven throughout. It's a beautifully realised piece as well, evocatively all shot at night, with some stylish touches that really make this an under the duvet experience. John Barrowman joins the cast, as he makes an instant impression, and by the end of the tale, the Doctor, Rose and Jack make for a blissful trio of regulars. All in all, this is one of the most strongest Doctor Who stories you are likely to see. Just when you think it's going to end with a load of technobabble, the story hits you with one of the most emotional of revelations. This is what Moffat was producing when he only had to deliver one story a year, and I really miss those days. I have absolutely no problems with this episode, and this is why, for me, this is the best episode of the first series. So that was my episode ranking of Series 1. Next up on the channel will be a special mini review, which I'm not going to reveal yet, but will be coming soon. After that, the Series 2 reviews will commence, starting of course with the Christmas special, The Christmas Invasion. Updates will be available as always via the community section, so make sure to subscribe to stay up to date. Thank you very much for watching.